नहमदु व नसल्ली अला रसूलिहिल करीम अम्मा बाद फ़अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली रब्बी ज़िदनी इल्मा अल्लाहुम्मा फ़क़्हिना फ़िद्दीन अल्लाहुम्मा इन्नी अस्अलुका इल्मन नाफ़िअ व अमलन मुतक़ब्बला व रिज़्क़न तय्यबा Allahumma anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa 'allimna ma yanfa'una wa zidna ilma. Inshallah, we will be starting from ayat number 211, Surah alBaqarah. So, A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sal, Sin Hamza Lam, meaning Su'al, meaning ask. Bani Israel, the children of Israel, the Bani Israel. Come, how many? Ataynahum. Ati is the root. Hamza taya. Na, we, hum, them. How many? We gave them. Min, from. Ayatin, the ayah. Hamza yaya, the signs. Bayyinatin, bayanun, meaning clear. Wa, and man, whoever. Yubaddil, bad dalam, meaning badal or change. So, who changed? Ni'matallahi, ni'mat from Allah, the favors from Allah. Ni'mat, the root is nun, ain, mim. Min ba'di, min from ba'di, after. Ma, what? Ja'athu, jim, hamza, ya, meaning came, who, to them. Fa, then, inna, indeed, Allah, Allah, shadid, sheen, dal, dal, meaning severe, al-iqab, aqab, ain, qaf, ba, meaning something that comes behind, or basically punishment. It's used in for punishment in this context. So the ayat Sal Bani Israila Kam Ataynahum min ayatin bayyina. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that ask Bani Israel how many of the signs had we given them which were clear. That is the first part. And we will see, we have already discussed how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given so many blessings, so many signs, and so many miracles to Bani Israel. If this word ayah is taken in terms of signs, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them with many, many prophets, many books. This is also an ayah that every time they did the mistake, they did any sins, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not kill them all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a chance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent them clear signs as to what to do next. And if it is taken in terms of, this word ayah is taken in terms of miracle, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had lots and lots of miracles on them. Many, many miracles. Like we've talked about man and salwa, the food that was coming from the sky. Then the water, the streams that came into existence for their thirst. Then there was the traveling of the cloud on top of them so they don't feel the heat. And besides that, there were many small and big miracles that were happening throughout. We know that the miracles that Musa alayhi salam was sent with. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, after mentioning that there were so many signs, so many miracles. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions something general so we all can take notice of that. Second part of this ayat is woman, and whoever yubaddilu ni'matallahi, whoever changes the ni'mat of Allah, the favors of Allah, min ba'di, after that, ma ja'athu, it comes to him. Fa inna Allah shadidul iqab, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is severe in punishing. So over here, it is shown that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started with a specific nation, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly tells us to learn from this nation. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after giving them so much honor, Bani Israel was given a lot of honor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a lot of attention. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them status. But what did they do with that? besides the signs and miracles, Allah gave them a lot of respect. What did they do with it? They just tried to find loopholes with everything, all the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They tried to work around it. They did everything just for the love of dunya. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it, especially after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does so much for somebody, then if they change the favor. What is the meaning of changing the favor? Changing the favor basically has two meanings. One is not being thankful, not being grateful, and second, not using that favor, that blessing for your Deen Islam. Okay, so the two meanings are not being grateful about it and just complaining. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you something and you're like, there are the rich people get this and I have this car, and look at the others, and so you're just never kind of satisfied with whatever you get. You're always complaining. They're not even thinking about ways to increase in Islam because of that blessing. So the true way of being grateful, showing gratitude, is not just saying thank you Allah, not just saying that. Of course, that is also a very important part of thanking Allah for the blessing is also a very important part, but using it in the way of Allah, and stop complaining about things in how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you a favor, but you're just thinking about what others have. You have to understand that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us, it is for the right reasons. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has more wisdom. In fact, all the wisdom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understands things and we don't understand things. Allah ta'ala has the knowledge and we do not have any knowledge. So whatever we get, we should be thankful. It's not to say that we should not make dua for getting more or the thing that you want. It is not to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked us not to ask for his favors. It is to say that we are not allowed to make dua to make our nasib, make our fate better. We are always allowed to make dua, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in fact has encouraged us to make dua. But whatever we get, instead of complaining on that, it is better to be thankful and to use it in the way of Islam. For example, if we have any clothes, instead of just complaining and comparing with others that, oh, these people always buy branded clothes and look at me. Other things could be, I gave you the example of cars. Instead of using it in the way of Allah, that, okay, inshallah, I will try to make it to the mosque more times during the day than I ever have, because I have a car now, so it's easier to go to the masjid and pray salah. Or I will give somebody a ride for the classes or for the salah or for something. I'll make somebody else's life easy, so I'll be giving thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that way. So instead of finding ways of your talent or your money or anything that you have to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, serve in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we just complain, then we already know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions over here that he's severe in punishing. It actually attracts punishment, that we do get something and then we are not thankful. You can try to understand this example with this is not comparable, of course, with how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us with things, but just like, if in this dunya you do something for someone and they are, instead of being thankful, one thing is that they don't even say thank you, then you can still take it. But instead of being thankful, they're complaining about the gift you give them. So that is something that will put you off for next time for giving the gift. In the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in the Quran, you thank me, I will give you more. So we should be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should not change the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the wrong way. The next ayat is ayat number 212. This talks directly about how the life of this dunya is made attractive for the people who have kufr. Let's read the Arabic and then we'll dive into the tafsir, inshallah. Zuyyina, Zayyanun, meaning beautiful, and Zuyyina with a shada means beautified, lillazina, for lazina people, kafaru, those who disbelieved, al hayat dunya, the hayat, the life of this dunya. The root for hayat is hayaya, the root for dunya is dal noon waw, which literally means closer, something that is close to you. So the life of this dunya is closer to you compared to the life of akhirah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that the life of this dunya is made attractive, beautiful for the people who do kufr. That is the first part. And second part is wa and yaskharuna, sakhar sin, khara, meaning to laugh, to humiliate, to mock, to ridicule. And they ridicule min min allazina, those who amanu, who have iman, who believe, who are Muslims. So those people who are kafir, first thing is that they are in love with this dunya. Second thing is that they make fun of the people who have iman. They make fun of the believers. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا, and those people who have taqwa, who fear Allah. Waqaf, ya is the root of taqwa. فَوْقَهُمْ, fa waqaf means above, whom, then those. So those people who have taqwa will be above them than the others, than those who make fun of them. يوم القيامة, on the day of Qiyamah, on the day of judgment, these people actually are going to be above them. So the third phrase talks about how in the Akhirah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give these people very high status, and that is what matters, right? And the fourth phrase is Wallahu, and Allah, yarzuku, razaiqaf means provides, rizq is the root word, man yasha'u, shin hamza ya is the root, which means he wills. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides the one whom he wills, bighayri hisab, bighair, without, hisab, hasin ba, without measure, without calculation. So there are four phrases in this beautiful ayat. First one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the right perspective to look at this world. This dunya, as we've already studied many times, that this is a test area for us, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the people who do kufr are the people who find this world very beautiful. And of course, we all find it very beautiful. We all enjoy living here. But what this phrase over here means that they find it so attractive, so beautiful that they want to just stay busy with that. They forget the actual purpose of coming here. There are two main important questions in our life, right? What is the purpose of my existence, and what will happen after I die? So while you're living, what is the purpose? And when I die, these are the two phases we all know, right? So when we are alive, we feel like I can actually see what's happening, then we need the purpose. And when we die, that is the time when it's a question mark, because we've not been able to see what happens to people when they die. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has answered us those two questions, has given us the answer to those questions, then we should trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and follow the instructions and do with this dunya only what we are supposed to do. Understand that this is a test room. This is an exam room. We are here to take the exam. We are here to focus on what the instructions are on the test paper, because otherwise we are going to fail. We are here to give our 100% effort to answer the questions that we are given, and to answer as many questions as possible, and to answer them correctly. So if you understand this example, you have to understand that you're not supposed to fall in love with this dunya. You're not supposed to fall in love with the exam room and you say, okay, I want to change the curtains over here and I want to just live in this exam room forever. And you stop worrying about the exam paper, which actually mattered And you start thinking about the carpeting of that room, and you start thinking about what you're going to wear in that room, and you start thinking about what pens and pencils and colors and collections that you will have in that room, and you start thinking about what lashes you will put in on your eyes while in this room, and you start thinking about all the other people around you and what they're wearing, and how they buy those things, and what they're talking about. You are, what is your purpose is what you are there for, right? And a person who is dedicated, who is aware, who is mindful of the purpose of the exam room will stay focused. He will say, okay, I don't want to look here and there. I don't want to waste time. I just want to do the best in this paper. I want to do the best. So that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, that don't get so invested in this world that you forget all about the purpose. You're here, you can live here, and you can enjoy living here as well. But the main thing is that you are given this opportunity to earn the Jannah, to earn good deeds. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you Jannah with His rahmah. Do not start this competition of buying more things and talking about only the branded stuff, and just dunya, 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 like the all kinds of jobs and all those things, just to earn higher status, higher financial status, and only planning things that will make you happy and not worrying about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands and instructions at all. Okay, and then the second part is وَيَسْخَرُونَ, and those who make fun, or those who ridicule, مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believe. So what happened when people are too involved in this world? They find the people who are not involved in this world, they find them funny, and they try to humiliate them, and they try to mock them, and they say think that, oh my God, why are they so simple? Why are they only talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why are they so extreme in their religion? So we see this trend that people use the word balance to justify their love for dunya by saying, oh, we have to keep the balance between this dunya and the deen. We have to run both of these in parallel. So there has to be a balance. These people, those who believe, they are very extreme. They are like always just talking about Allah, 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 and Akhirah, and praying, and they're always like saying no nail polish because when I do wudu, then it won't be accepted, and no, relationships and affairs, and they find it very weird that we are, if we are living in this dunya, we do not talk about any kind of bribery or doing any kind of corruption in this dunya. If people try to avoid those things, they will make fun of them that, oh, if you keep doing this, then you're never going to be able to make any money. You're not a good businessman. You don't know how to live a life. You don't know how to dress up. And then everyone will laugh at you because you do not want to do israf. You do not want to spend 3 times more in buying a purse, which is just something that you can easily buy a beautiful one without spending so much money, and you can give the rest of the money to the poor who you're going to be responsible for. If somebody is sleeping hungry, according to the hadith, if somebody is sleeping hungry in your neighborhood, you're going to be answerable for that. In today's day and age, we don't have to worry about just the neighbor. Everything, any video that we watch, any payment that we can do online. So we will be answerable for people even when we see that we were able to pay online, because that is just even simpler than even going to the neighbor's door, right? So don't think that, okay, I live in a very elitist neighborhood. I'm sure nobody's going hungry, and I can justify buying whatever I want, spending however way I want, and just don't care about the world. And also other things are, we've discussed many times how people uh, even don't even worship properly because they don't have enough time. Either their job is keeping them, or other different kind of busy schedule. They have parties to go to, they have social life, they have events, they have children. So there, that is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, that when on the other hand they see people who are doing those things and apparently not making as much profits in their businesses or in their daily life, and they are just sticking to, they see them sticking to their schedule of salah and charity and all those topics, then they make fun of them. They find it funny that people are so narrow-minded, people are so extreme about this topic of akhirah and qiyamah, and they're always worried about akhirah. They're not living a fun life, they are not living a life that they actually justify it, that this is YOLO, you only live once, so you should do whatever you feel like doing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us over here that those who make fun of the people who have taqwa, who are always thinking about that the fear of Allah, the love for Allah. So taqwa is a combination of fear and love. So people who have those, they should not worry about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making us more steadfast that those people who have taqwa will be above them. Meaning, however way, we don't know what will happen on the day of Qiyamah, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us that you will be at a higher status. Those who have taqwa will be given more respect, more love, higher status, and everything that they've ever even wished for, or they've not even imagined to that level. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing the people of taqwa that we should keep going with whatever we are doing. That is the right approach. Okay, so if you want to follow any ayat of this of Quran, this is the action item, that if you ask yourself these questions, that am I too involved in the love of this dunya? Am I just worried about the topics about what's in these days and what are the rates for these things? Are my conversations with my friends always related to these topics? If they are, then this is the time to worry. I should be talking and thinking more about what the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are and how am I fulfilling them. Because if I want the ultimate respect, if I want the ultimate success, then this is the way to do it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, Wallahu yarzuqu man yasha'u bighayri hisab, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives risk to whoever He wants without any measure. So we have studied from the hadith and Quran, other places in Quran also, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not make any link. In this dunya, Allah does not care who gets what, right? If somebody is rich, does not mean that they are more into deen, and that's why Allah is rewarding them. Or if somebody is poor, does not mean that they are doing something wrong only, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is punishing them by giving them less. And risk also does not just mean money, it could mean the education, it could mean the spouse, it could mean the children, it could mean all the other luxuries of life, anything, how they where they work and all those things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing all of us in this dunya, so it is the division of the risk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not connect with how much we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a completely different way of distributing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may test some people by giving them more and may test some people by giving them less. So, and also from the hadith we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cares about this dunya even less than this the wing of the mosquito. So the hadith goes that if Allah cared even about this dunya even as much as the wing of a mosquito, Allah would not have given the kafirin anything, not even a glass of water, But since Allah does not care about this dunya at all, that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is letting everyone have enough luxurious life enough in this world, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses people with this dunya. So the theme for this ayat is to decrease the love for this dunya, don't get too attached to this material world, and focus more on what is the purpose of this life and what will happen after our death. And then the third for today is ayat number 213. Kana was annasu, the mankind, ummatan, hamza, mim, a community, wahidan, tan, wahadal, meaning single, so then, ba'asa, raised, Allahu, Allah, an-nabiyyina, the prophets. Naba'a is the root, nun ba hamza. So Allah raised the prophets, mubashirina wa munzirina. Bashindra is the root for mubashirina, which means the bearers of good tidings, people who give good news. Wa and munzirina, nunzalra, warners, somebody who gives warnings. Wa and anzala, nunzailam, nazala, and sent down, ma'ahum, ma'a, with whom, them. What did Allah send with the Nabi, the prophets? Al-Kitaba, the books. Bil-Haqqi, with the Haqq, which is the truth, the book from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Li, so that for them, Yahkuma, to judge or to command, Bain an-nasi, bain, between, an-nasi, people, Fima, in what, Ikhtalafu, khalamfa, which they differed, fihi, in it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the books with the prophets so they can help people to find the correct answer wherever there is ikhtilaf, there is a difference in opinion. Wama, and did not, ikhtalafa, khalamfa, and did not they differ, fihi, in it, illa lazina, except those people, utuhu, hamzataya, given to them, Bim badi, after that, ma, what, ja'athum, jim hamzaya, came, hum, to them, al-bayyinatu, bayanun, the clear proof. So people only went against each other after they got the books, after they got the clear ayat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what does Allah mention? What was their reason of doing this? Not because there was no clarity in the books, but because baghyan, because of their rebellion, because of their jealousy, because of their love for dunya, bainahum, between them. So this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us how this dunya was supposed to be a wahid, a singular community. They were supposed to be one, meaning in the religion. The religion was always Islam, but because people keep forgetting and they keep getting distracted, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had this tradition to send the prophets, and the prophets came with the books, so people get the proof, and people have they can have a sharia to follow, they have a set of laws and do's and don'ts, so it is easy for them to decide what to do in this matter, what to do in this matter, what to do in this matter. And people should be able to find answers to things that they differ. But Allah mentions that the people mostly differed even after, when things are very clear to them, and even after they differ, it is basically because of their baghyan, because of their rebellion, because of their jealousies, because of their love for dunya, because they don't want to submit fully. So they do it because of the baghyan. They do it because it is in their mind how they want to do things the way they want it. They don't want to submit to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to. So Allah mentions, we are still on the same ayat 213, and Allah mentions fahadallahu, fahada, so hada, hadi, hadalya, meaning guide, Allah, allazina, those who amanu, believed, lima, regarding what اختلفوا خالف they differed فيه in it من الحق of the truth بإذنه with his permission, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. بإذنه, the root is izn, hamza zal noon. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives guidance to those who believe in submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands when the guidance has been given to them. Basically, the people who do want to follow the right path and they want and they don't have the baghi in their head, they don't have this pride, this kind of arrogance in their head that I will do my own way. They have the mentality to submit even if they're not understanding something. If they're doing something by mistake, that is okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will still guide them as long as they have the right intention. So what means over here from this phrase فَهَدَى اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لِمَا اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ مِنَ الْحَقِّ بِإِذْنِهِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps those people who are trying to come on the right path, who are having the intention to believe and to follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance, but they're having if they get mistaken, Allah forgives them and Allah shows them the right path, as long as their intention is that they want to fully and totally submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So the last phrase of this ayat is Wallahu, and Allah, Yahdi, He guides, Hadalia, Man yasha'u, those whom He wills, Ila, towards Siratin Mustaqim, to the path, Mustaqim, Qafam Mim, the straight one, the established one. So over here in this ayat we see, right after studying the ayat about the attachment to this dunya, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is approving of the people who are not attaching to this dunya, right? Basically what you see, the theme after understanding the different parts of ayat number 213, where Allah mentions that Islam has been the religion throughout. They were all made to follow the single community, but of course people along the way get distracted, they forget, they don't stay so focused. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to help them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent prophets and sent books, so people always have some kind of guidance and some kind of reminder and some kind of good news and the warning that it's not neutral whether you follow Allah or not. You have to follow, because one thing gives you good news and the other way gives you the bad news. So you better stick to the right path. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the books, so they have their questions answered, how to live the life, how to do this, what to do in case of interest, what to do in case of how to raise children, how to do work, what to do in case of promises and everything. So all kinds of questions are answered in the books. But if still somebody does not want to follow the book, somebody wants to pick and choose the command, that is the problem in their head. That is the baghi that makes them do it. They want to live their life in their own way because they don't want to make any losses in this world. They want to spend all their time in just doing their job properly and not taking out any time for salah, or just watching TV and sitting on the phone all the time and not wanting to listen to Quran, or doing their du'as, or spending too much time in these things. Or they want to just make their house more beautiful, or they want to stay busy cooking and making clothes for themselves for an upcoming wedding. They would spend like months and months preparing for the wedding, but not for Ramadan. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us that those people who still don't get their answers, questions answered from the books that are given to them, that means that they have baghi. But those who try to find them and they have any difficulty, but they have the intentions right, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help them. And we know from the hadith that Allah mentions that if you walk towards me, I will come running towards you. If you come closer to me by one hand, I will come closer to you by an arm's length. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, there are many similar hadiths which explain to us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more eager for us to come on the right path than we would know, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that it is in the end Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who guides, who decides who should get more guidance and who should not get the guidance. And that is also based on our actions, how we act basically. Okay, then ayat number 214, or hasibtum, ha seen ba, have you thought or calculated or planned, on that tadkhulu, dal khalam, dakhal meaning enter, and starts with the meaning you will enter, al jannata, the paradise, wa and lamma, while not, ya'tikum, hamza ta'ya, atikum, to you, masalul lazina, masal like the misal, like the example, al lazina, of those who, khalaw, passed away, being before that, min, from, qablikum, qaf ba lam means qabl, before, kum, before you, massathum, mim seen meaning touched, whom, them, and touched them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is first asking us that have you really thought that you will just get Jannah without being tested? And then Allah mentions the example of people who were before us, and they were, Allah is telling us how they were tested. Okay, massathum, they were touched, al-ba'sa'u, ba hamza sin, ba'as, wad-darra'u, dwadrara, and darra, wal-zulzilu, and zailam, and they were shaken. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the different types, the severity, the intensity of tests that those people were tested on. The bu'as meaning adversity, different difficulty in financial conditions. What darra'u, difficulty in physical conditions, basically illnesses and other difficulties. Was zulzilu, and they were shaken, like it was so much, so overwhelming, hatta, until, yaqulu, khaf wa lam is the root, yeah, they said, ar-rasulu, the prophets of those times said, wallazina, and those people, amanu, who believed. So the prophets of those times said, and the people who believed said, ma'ahu, with them, along with them. What did they say? Mata, when, nasrullahi, nasr means help, nun swadra, help when it is needed a lot, Allahi, from Allah. When will the help from Allah come? Allah, keep in mind, inna, indeed, nasra, nun swadra, help, Allahi, from Allah, qareeb, qaf raba, it's very close. And over here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that how can you even think that you will just get Jannah without getting tested in this world, without showing that you're worth going into Jannah? Because we know from the hadith that we will not be able to buy Jannah. It is not, however many good deeds that we do, we will still not be worthy of, we won't be able to deserve Jannah based on our good deeds. It's like somebody who's extremely poor, and then it is told that, okay, you can work, you work the whole life, and then you will earn enough to buy the White House, or to buy any very important place, very extremely, a palace, a king's palace or something, a huge palace. They will still not be able to collect, feed their family and save enough to buy that, right? Because we know that there is a limit to how much he will be able to work, and there is a limit to how much he will be able to save. In the same way, humans, when we work in this dunya, even if we think of it as if putting the money or the good deeds as some cash for the akhirah in one bucket, we are still using that bucket for paying for the bad deeds that we do, because some of the good deeds are taken away from our bucket of good deeds, right, because of the bad deeds. So that's how we are feeding, in the analogy of feeding the poor man, feeding his family. And then whatever is left for the akhirah out of those good deeds, that won't be enough, because Jannah is extremely, extremely out of our imagination. We cannot even think how great it is. There is nothing that we need that we will not be able to find in Jannah, and for free and for fun. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that, do you really think that you will not be tested? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want us to buy Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to prove that we are God conscious throughout our life. We are living a mindful life where we are submitting to everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless us with Jannah, because of His Rahm, His mercy on us, that this person truly deserves to be in Jannah, because he lived the life that was asked of him. And Allah gives us the example of the previous nations and the times when they were tested so much. We are not even tested at that level. So Allah mentions that because everyone is tested according to their capacity, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what our capacity is. So Allah mentions that you have no idea what actually the test is. There have been nations when they were tested in all kinds of ways, through wars and through financial means, through famine, through hunger, through poverty, and through physical illnesses, through many kinds of problems, right? And so much so that they asked, when is Allah's help going to come? They were like shaken. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Allah's help is always very close. Allah's help is very near. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala definitely helps the people who have taqwa. Allah does not forget them. Allah does not leave them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always with them. So the right way to live the life is to only love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and focus on the path of this Islam, inshallah.